What days? I don't know what he brings in the offseason. We're about to find out. From Acme Packing Company, he is the one. He is the only. Dusty Evely. Dusty, what up, brother?
Gentlemen, I wish it was under better circumstances, but I am very happy to be talking to you guys today.
Good to
Yes,
see you,
sir.
Dusty. Yeah, so we posed that question. We haven't talked to you a ton about, Bucks and Brewers and all that, but like our question was, if one of these people were traded, like what impact would it have on the future, like a positive impact on the future of their franchise? Giannis, Freddie Peralta, or Matt Lafleur? Which one do you think?
Man, I gotta say, listen. As basketball, I'm a Pistons guy. I apologize. I'm originally from Michigan, but if I'm looking at like the haul that those guys bring back, it's got to be honest, right? In terms of like the impact, the number of picks you can get back on that, what you can do with that. You have fewer players in the NBA. You can get more shots at like a first round pick that way. You'd hate to see it, what he meant to the franchise, but I think just the impact of what you're looking at there, I think it's got to be honest.
Okay. Hey, that's who I picked too. So, Dusty, that's why you're my favorite. All right. Well, now let's shift back to this whole Packers end of season talk. Everything. I know you've broken down film. You've looked at everything. Kind of, probably giving grades and your reports on what you saw from different players. So, is there anything from this end of season recap that kind of stood out to you that was either a trend that was happening all season, or something that you just found interesting as you did your end of season evaluations?
I mean, I still want to go back through, and I've not gotten to the point where I rewatched the whole season yet. I've got everything logged. I'm going through my pivot tables. If you want to go, behind the process here, I'm going through all the data, kind of looking at all that stuff. I'm going to go back to the film at some point. But I mean, one of the things that has stuck with me, and it wavered a bit here and there as far as like it got better and then it got worse. Offensive line just down the stretch, especially that second half, was just a nightmare. And that's something that they had struggles with all year. Some of that was due to injuries. Some of that was working in young guys. And it felt like they found kind of a really nice equilibrium after Belton kind of a couple games in. He got his feet wet. Ryan had kind of settled in after the Jenkins injury, all that stuff. And then everything fell. I mean, even before the Ryan injury at the end of the game, Rasheed Walker looked lost. And I don't know if some of that was, and he's a guy like,
He's expected to get paid this offseason.
He's expected to get paid, and like I've never been like the biggest fan of his, but he has always been like a competent left tackle. And so some of that is, I don't know how much of that was the plan. I don't know how much of that was coaching in terms of like some of those specific instances where like it was very obvious, kind of stood out. It seemed like it was on him. So I don't know where that falls, but some of those issues that kind of were there beginning of the season, kind of in the middle of the season, you're working guys out. We hadn't seen that down the stretch. And they just reared their head in that second half. So I'm really curious kind of what led to that. That was, to me, the most surprising thing, because they hadn't been moving guys on in the run game. Like I understand that. And they've not been doing that like all year. They haven't done that for 2 years at this point. But pass protection has generally been okay. For them to blow that many, that obviously down the stretch, that kind of really led to that loss. That was kind of surprising to me. So I'm curious to see if that kind of went off the rails a little earlier. I didn't really notice it, or if that was just a weird like one game thing here at the end.
Dusty, I got a question for you on that front for the offensive line. So do you wish somebody in the organization would come out and like say, like, do you think it was a mistake to put Elton Jenkins at center? Like, do you like I do? So yeah. I'm like, is there somebody that has to be held accountable like for that decision? Like, because I believe if he's at guard and Sean Ryan plays a full year at center, like some things look different, right? Like I just don't. Elton Jenkins has proved, like, yes, he played center before in college, and like that's what he was drafted. But like he became an All-Pro, like a Pro Bowl like guard. Yep. Like you brought Banks in, like keep those guys at guard, develop Sean Ryan as your center. Like you're probably gonna be able to get him and bring him back on the cheap.
Yep.
So who has to kind of take the fall for that decision?
I'd love to see, because I don't know exactly where those decisions are made. Is that Lafleur? Is that O-line? Is that OC? Is that some combination of all? Because that seemed to be Jenkins going to center as far as like his intelligence, his movement skills. That was like a massive upgrade over kind of what they had the previous year. Like this is going to go really well. He had the injury stuff in the offseason, so he didn't practice that much. So it seemed like one of those things. If you want to stick with him at center, you want to start him from week 1, and you get 2 weeks into this thing and he's healthy, but he's still just not looking right. That's not
what
looking
surprised
good
me,
at center.
right?
That seems like you need to have a quick hook. Like, all right, man, like we know Ryan can do it. They didn't like Jacob Monk. Maybe they didn't want like the idea of pulling Jenkins, putting Ryan in there. They don't really love their backup center situation. So now they got Jenkins. Like then you have to bump him back into center, and that does some different live stuff. Maybe they were just hoping that he just takes that job, runs with it more consistent. But man, you could tell by like, I mean, the first week you give him a little grace. I feel like by the second or third week, that seemed very much like this ain't happening, man. We got to figure out something else. So yeah, I'd love to see answers for that. Who made that call? Why they stuck with it for as long as it was? Because if he didn't get injured, he was going to be the starting center the entire year, and it was clear it wasn't working at that point. So I'd love to kind of hear the thought process behind that.
I think as we're talking about like, is Lafleur coming back? All these things, some of the shifts that need to happen in that building are like Stanovich is an offensive line. He was offensive lineman, helps in that room. He's an offensive coordinator. Like, who's evaluating, just like not going to Lafleur and being like, hey, this has to change. It's not working. And like having like standing tall and saying, being bold and saying like, we got to switch this back. We have to, this isn't cohesive. Whether Jenkins was good or not at it, it just, the whole mesh and chemistry of that offensive line wasn't. So I just never understood, even last offseason, it was just like Jenkins is moving to center. It wasn't like we're going to try him out in this, if he's healthy through training camp and all that and like see if this is an option. It was just done. And then they had no plans to move it. And to me, that's just not good ball. Like you have to be able to adjust.
Yeah.
And before you answer that, Dusty, I just want to say, like, as someone who doesn't know ball and is an idiot, I saw it. How did nobody there see it?
Well, right? And that's a funny thing. Like, he also didn't want to do it. Like, he was pretty clear in the offseason too. It wasn't like he was pushing, I want to be center. He didn't want to do it either. And so if he didn't want to do it, he couldn't practice. And then he clearly wasn't good at it. Like you said, I mean, to your point, Mason, that's exactly, I don't know. Maybe that was said in the building. Maybe it wasn't. But at some point, someone's got to be like, listen, this isn't working, right? Like, we got to switch this. Like, it doesn't matter like whose feelings we heard at a certain point. We're in season.
Yeah.
Someone's got to take ownership of that. And I don't know if that is, say, Steno wasn't there anymore. I don't know if that's Butkus's job and he didn't feel comfortable doing that, or he took it up to Lafleur and Steno and they both said, we're not doing that. Like, whatever that was. I don't know what those conversations were. I have to assume those conversations happened and maybe it was just, well, he'll get better. He'll be fine. But it felt like a mess from the jump and it just never got better.
Dusty Evely, Acme Packing Company, joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. Follow him on Twitter at Dusty Evely. I just wanted to jump in while we're on the conversation of the offensive line then, too, with Elton Jenkins being absent at the end of the year and Sean Ryan having to make that move. He is an upcoming free agent, too, Dusty. And how do you think his play will, how does that impact the decision on whether or not he's going to be back for the Green Bay Packers in 2026?
Yeah, I don't know what that contract looks like. I mean, I don't know that he wasn't like a knockout. I don't think he's going to be like Tyler Linderbaum, like all those guys, like the big names, like get money. I don't think he's going to do that, but I think he's going to get mid-tier money. Like, he showed himself. He got better every year at Green Bay, even at guard. He got better every single year. And then he's a competent setter who did some very nice things. So I have to believe they're going to want to try to bring him back. I don't know what that price tag is going to look like. And then from there, it's what's the plan behind that? They drafted Jacob Monk a couple years ago. He got injured. They brought in who was Lucita Smith was snapping for those last couple things there. So I don't know. They have a good backup plan. I certainly hope that they bring him back. If nothing else, on like a 1 or 2 year deal, if the market's not really there. That seems like a test the market type of thing. If they think it's going to be an overpay, and we'll bring you back. But I really like him there.
Last year, I mean, we just were like, Josh Myers must be getting a bag if he's not coming back to Green Bay. And then he goes out and signs the $3 million backup center deal. Yeah. I don't know if me and Mason have been ever more correct and angry at the exact same time. Like, it was just, why do you not bring him back for that price tag? That the whole thing, Dusty, was the consistency the year before and the health of the year before is why the offensive line looked as good as it did.
And I will say, Josh Myers, again, an offensive lineman that pukes on the field and like just keeps rolling. Like, that's the type of player that I want in my locker room. Like, it's like that guy, like, you need those types of guys. Just like like Josh Myers is a tough dude. Like, he plays hard. Like, he's a tough physical guy. So you go searching for this right thing, but sometimes right in front of you, there's like this person that you can get on the cheap, and be able to just keep rolling with something that's proven to work.
It's not like a Hallmark thing right there, Mason. Sometimes the one you love has been right in front of you the whole time,
Exactly.
type of thing.
As long as he pukes on the field.
Hallmark
Yes.
movies,
We're
gross.
so emotional on this show.
I know we're all about feelings here
We're
on
in
the Mason
touch.
Crosby
We're in
show.
touch.
Well, it's like that. Like, so we'll get off this, and go to some other things. But it's, it's I would kick it. I would punt at practice. I would punt and do some things, but like it would have been ridiculous for them to be like, "Hey, you want to be our punter in the game?" Like that just wouldn't have made sense. Like, sure, like to think that like we did this Packers team with Elton Jenkins did what you do with like your best offensive lineman in Pee Wee football. You're like, all right, they're going to be the center because we need them to snap the ball and do all that. Like, this is the National Football League. Like, Elton Jenkins has proven himself as an elite guard. Why move him? Like, so, like, to me, that kind of mindset needs to shift. And so that segue brings me to special teams because we've been talking about that a lot. Philosophy on special teams. You can change the coach. You can do all these things. But there's been a lot of special teams coaches. There's been all that. But what has stayed true? The philosophy of how they approach special teams, the guys that are in that building that are not dedicated to be special teams players. If I were the coach there, I'd say, I need a big guy, I need a linebacker body, and I need a skill player. I need 3 players that are special teams oriented, and those are my bell cows. And then I will train them up to get everybody on the same page. Like what do they do to shift the philosophy there on the special teams?
I don't know because it feels like they have tried different things. I mean, when they brought in Bisaccia, that was one of the things. Like he kind of brought in some of his guys. It was always kind of like bottom of the roster guys. I still remember very passionately talking about Dallin Levitt for about a year and a half there because that was his dude. And then he wasn't good at that. Bisaccia was another guy. This was a specialist thing. He banged the table for Anders Carlson, and that we saw how that panned out. So some of that too, I wonder. This is like a behind the scenes thing as well. How much of this is he's banging the table for certain guys? Nick Neiman. Seemed like a guy this year that they probably were going hard for. Like that was a special teams maven, and he was good, and then he got injured, and then he came back this last game here. But I do think they're trying to base it around, which I think a lot of teams do. You're basing around 3 or 4 guys, and you fill that out with kind of that bottom of the roster churn. And I don't know if there's anything to do with it, but Packers do seem to they churn that bottom of the roster a ton, and I don't keep up with transaction trends of other teams as much as I do with the Packers to know if it's done to quite that extent. But if there is that bottom 10% is moving around that much, and those are a lot of the bodies you're kind of throwing out there. I mean, you see guys out there making plays like Aaron Mosby had a great special teams year. I thought he died on the field a couple times there. He was getting like just knocked around like crazy, and he kept coming back out. He had a tremendous year, but they don't really fill it out with a lot of their top end guys, I think, unless they can help it, which I understand to a certain extent. But some of that is the talent of the guys that they have, that these are special teams guys. It feels like there's been whiffs there at times. And to me, that almost feels like a bigger deal than the overall philosophy. Like these are going to be our key pieces. And a handful of times, dude, like those don't pan out. And if those are your dudes and they don't pan out, it's hard to fill out the rest of it if those your central pieces are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So then the question comes in, the bottom of the roster, like the depth of the roster. So this is a personnel issue then.
Right. Is that Goody?
Yeah. I mean, so you got to look at that personnel department. It's like, who's finding these guys? Who's Goody signing off on? And I think philosophically, if you bring in like for offensive guys, you have Bo Melton. He's like probably he's one of your tougher receivers. So they try to put him at corner and then continue to play special teams, right? So it's like the offensive side of the ball, you're not bringing in like those dogs, right? Like those guys. Tucker Kraft's the only tight end on that offensive side of the ball that is going to run through a brick wall type of guy. Mm-hmm. You need tight ends and you need linebackers that can play special teams. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? So it's
when even some of those linebacker guys, like I know Brenton Cox, like didn't play special teams. So even he's a bottom of the roster type of edge guy, but he was not good at teams. So they didn't have him on teams. And so there's also those things that's very strange.
Yeah. Some guys just can't. I mean, special teams, just for anybody like watching that, they might, you say bottom of the roster and all that, but those guys are playing football at the purest level. You're running in space, and you have to change directions, and you have to make tackles in the open field, sometimes with a guy blocking you, right? So you're playing defensive lineman and linebacker and DB all at the same time if you're covering kicks. So it is a unique skill set, and you have to have the right type of people in that building. So for me, that's definitely a philosophy change. Is like, how are we training up guys? Who are we bringing in that are just a little crazy, that will do all the wild things on special teams?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite players for a while was Antonio Morrison. I think he was there for 2 years, linebacker out of Florida, and he was just his whole thing was just he's insane. Whatever you ask him to do, that man's just insane. Like, give me a couple of those guys and just have him run down the field fast. Just do that.
Yeah, exactly. Eric Wilson, right? Like,
Yep,
whenever he started on that Vikings defense, and he was a guy we could have had him back for pretty inexpensive.
Yeah. And how many guys can you say that about on this roster? Like, who are you like, this guy's a psychopath? Like Micah Parsons, absolutely, but he's not playing special teams, right?
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah,
Tucker Kraft, but he's not going to play
super.
special teams anymore. Yeah, I mean, you don't have like that kind of bottom of the roster, like rotation guy that is just going to be a little bit out of control. Like, it's just a little crazy.
Just slightly on edge. Yeah,
you need some of that. You need some of those guys. All right. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking with the coach stuff? Let's go to Hafley first before we jump into Lafleur and like what they're going to do there.
Sure.
Do you think Hafley is going to get a job in this cycle, head coaching job?
Man, it seems like there's so many open. He's taken a lot of interviews. I mean, he'd be if he gets an offer. I know you want the right job and all that stuff, but I was thinking recently about Ejiro Evero, who's been with the Panthers, DC with the Panthers. He was a hot name for a while. He came up. He was with the Rams. He interviewed with the Packers, if not mistaken, for that DC job when Barry came on. Was like hot name on the head coaching circuit for a while. And it just kind of dropped off. He's been with the Panthers with the DC for a couple of years. So you got to strike while the iron's hot. So for Hafley's perspective, if he gets offered a job, even if it's not the perfect job, he takes it. And there's so many openings and there's so many, it's such a weird hiring cycle, it feels like. Because a lot of those, like the next hot shot OC guys, I don't think are quite there yet. Like they're not play calling duties. They're a little younger, like younger than McVay was when he started. So that like the next OC isn't there. There's a handful of DC guys like Minter feels like a shoe-in. Hafley, like the defenses hasn't been great, especially this past year after Parsons went out. But he's spoken of so highly in terms of the way he teaches players, the way he speaks, the way he relates to guys, the way guys relate to him and talk to him. He feels like a guy that would interview extremely well. And there's so many open jobs, and it feels like there's not a ton of great candidates this year. I feel like he gets an offer, and at that point, again, I feel like if he gets an offer, I think he'd be kind of dumb to say no to it. So I feel like he's probably gone.
Those interviews have to be like multi-pronged, but one of the pieces is who are you bringing with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like, who do you think Hafley, goes into an interview and says, all right, like, this is who I want for my Chase for my offensive coordinator. This is what I want for these types of, spots. Like who do you think? And because Hafley was at Boston College and different, who does he bring on as his offensive coordinator if he were to get a head coaching job?
Man, I honestly have no idea. Like maybe it would be he try to bring someone like Stenavich with him if it's play calling duties. I don't know how he feels about him. I mean, he was with the Niners and during the Shanahan era. I know Onsala was there as well. So maybe there's a guy off of that tree. I've not looked too deep into that. He's a guy who's bounced around a bit and spent a lot of time. If Mike
Lafleur doesn't get a head coaching job, he maybe snags him over.
Maybe. I mean, I do think he knows. He seems like he has enough connections that I'm sure he knows some guys, but I don't know that he has strong connections that I can think of at the moment in terms of this is the dude he's bringing with him.
Yeah, that's my only thought with him at this moment in this cycle is just all right, what does he bring as a staff, right? Like those are questions that are going to be asked, but I agree with you. Strike with the iron's hot. If you think Lafleur isn't going to get extended or whatever, they're kind of trying to figure out if this is a long-term thing, all of a sudden, this staff turns over next year and you're part of that, your prospects aren't going to be as high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and if you have this defense and you go out next year and you don't have success, now next year you're probably not in the running for a job. So I agree with you. I think you do have to strike if he gets the right offer. But all right, now we got to go to the Lafleur. We got Dusty Evely on the Mason Crosby show, joining us, talking all things Packers. What do you think is going to happen there?
Man, it feels like a lot of posturing to me. I feel like he's coming back. It seems like both sides kind of want to do it again. The the more they drag this too, and with the hiring cycle being kind of so weird, it also feels like if you want to bring someone else in, I don't know that there's someone else you want to bring in that you're going to get on that much of a discount besides like what you're getting for Lafleur, unless it is bringing up Hafley, which is his own thing. It feels like a lot of posturing. It feels like I would, from what I've heard, read, seen, everything, feels like probably a year's money type of thing, where they probably want him. I can understand it from both sides. I would imagine the Packers probably want, we'll give you a 3-year extension, because they don't want to be on the hook for too much. So probably the money would be about the same on a per year basis. And he wants more assurances and he wants 5 years. I would imagine that's probably the hang up. I think they both want to get it done. It's just a matter of how long that contract's going to be. And then if we push it to 5, can we pay you a little less, like that kind of thing. But I would imagine this gets done. It feels like it's agents speaking through different channels at this point to me. But at this point to me, feels like Lafleur's back. I'd be kind of shocked at this point if he's not. And then I will look really dumb if he is not. But that's the way it feels to me at the moment.
Why, in your opinion, like you being in this space, like, and I get pretty frustrated and heated up about this. Why is it so crazy for a head coach to coach out his last year of his contract and then go and do that? Like if I'm Lafleur, like, yeah, I want security. I want all that. But if like you bet on yourself and you think you are as good as everyone kind of is saying, like he'll have all these prospects, like why would you take anything and not just like play out this year, coach out this year and then see what happens?
And that's something I've been thinking as well. And it seems like that may be more Packers philosophy than his philosophy. Cause I know policy has said like, we don't want lame duck coaches. And like, I don't know. I understand that to some extent if you're concerned about the guy's motivation or wandering eye or looking for jobs in season, something like that. I don't know that Lafleur is that type of guy from everything I've seen. I think it's focused on this next year. I'm with you that if you can't get something done and you see what the next hiring cycle looks like, especially this year, I mean, it feels like people are waiting for the dominoes to fall, but there's what Harbaugh went. And so it's 8 open jobs now. Next year, maybe there's 3 and the demand's a little higher and they're looking to drive that price up a little bit. From the Packers perspective, if you want to keep him, we've seen this, like the Cowboys do this with their free agents every single time they come up. They wait until the last minute and then it's more expensive because the player has more leverage and everything goes up and everything gets more expensive and all that stuff. We don't want to do that. If the Packers want to pay him, go ahead and pay him. If they don't want to pay him, I'm with you. Fine. Let him go into the next year. If it doesn't work out, Packers let him walk. No harm, no foul. Lafleur gets to find another job. It could potentially work out well for both sides. But then if they end up going on a run next year and then you want to keep him around, you've priced yourself out of him or made him more expensive, and now he's hitting the open market. So if I'm Lafleur, I would have no issue saying, all right, dude, I'll just go in. You're not risking an injury. This is not like the last year and I need assurances because I might tear my ACL, my career might be done or whatever it might be. It's a coach. If I'm Lafleur, I have no problem going in lame duck next year, seeing the chips fall where they may. I just don't think the Packers want to do that.
Dusty, if you need a story, you should write about how the special teams coordinator position and how there's not enough former kickers in the space.
Exactly.
That's all. No,
we're putting my name out there.
We're just seeing if they're like. I don't know. I can't name a special teams coordinator that was a kicker in the NFL. Do you?
That's true.
I think you might think I have more influence than I do there, Tommy, but listen, I'll see what I can do. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Just throw it out there.
Just keep putting it out in the world. It's
we're
fine.
We're on a mission here to at least see if an offer comes across. He doesn't have to say yes necessarily, but like, how cool would that be? Right.
Listen, I wouldn't say no. I'd be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Big Mike comes down here to the Titans. I'm definitely reaching out and just going, hey, you know what? If you need something, just let me know.
Anyone else get chills? Anyone else?
Big Mike and Mason back together, leading the Tennessee Titans.
Like Tommy's in first grade all over again.
Listen, I'm only 3 hours away. I'd have to come down and watch some games if that happened in Nashville. I'll tell you that, man.
Special teams assistant film coordinator, Dusty.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, let's go.
And
I'd lean into all my guy. Yeah, I'd be getting Dusty. I'd be getting Andy. I'd be like, all right, guys, like y'all got to help me out. Watch some film. Get this thing dialed in. I love this.
I'm here for it.
All right, Dusty. Yeah, my last thing on the coaching thing, and then we'll let you go, is just like, again, the Packers shouldn't worry. Like they have tons of cash. Like they're flush with money. So like it should be less about how much it costs to keep or hire pay the head coach, and more like is this the right for the next 3-5 years? Will we get to where we want to get to? So like for the Packers organization, they need to make that decision. Who cares what the dollar amount is? And for Lafleur, he needs to have and if I'm interviewing him as like Ed Policy, I'm like, all right, what is your plan? Like, are you changing coaches? Are you doing what is the plan to take this to the next level? Do you think do you agree with that? Like that should be the mindset, because money aside, like the Packers can pay a coach. They could pay Harbaugh $20 million. Like it doesn't really matter with what they have. So is that a philosophy that you think they should be going into the negotiations with?
I think 100%. I mean, I do think you're looking somewhere between 16 to 18 million for Lafleur, I would assume, which that seems like a lot, but that's also like what Cohen and Ben Johnson, I think, got 12 or 13. So it'll be a little bump over them. I mean, I assume we're going to see Jesse Minter probably get something in that range, just the demand on him. So it's the going rate for guys you see as top tier coaches. But from both sides, I can see Policy doing the thing. All right, are you going to make changes? I can also see, because there's been reports that I've seen about like the potential budget on assistant coaches in Green Bay. Now they don't want to pay like some of the kind of the offensive line coach, linebacker coach, how there might be like a kind of a budget cap on there. From LaFleur's perspective, if that is true, and I'm not 100% that's true. If that's true from LaFleur's perspective, that's the policy going, listen, man, I'd love to come back, but we need to expand this coaching budget. Like I need to bring guys in that have a better pedigree. They did that for Bisaccia, but only after they went through like 3 special teams coordinators that just botched it because they tried to do internal hires. They try to do Steno to OC and Buckus to O-line. I don't think that's worked. Like I think they need to look to hire from outside, and I think that may be a budget thing. And if that's a budget thing, that's on LaFleur's table. Like Policy may say, hey, are you going to make coaching changes? And LaFleur's counter would be, yeah, but you got to give me the money to do it. So I think I think that would be the conversation that's probably happening there.
I like that.
Man, there's a lot going on at 1265 in that conversation right now, and we're just like flies on the wall, just waiting for that announcement from on high, that Mount Sinai announcement for what's coming down, those tablets coming down by Goody and a Policy.
It's so breaking at midnight tonight. It's so coming at a time where no one's going to be awake.
Mason, I'll call you. I'll wake you up.
During the wild card game tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh my God! The NFL would love that.
Yeah. Oh well, they extended Matt LaFleur.
Oh, it was signed 2 days ago. We forgot about it. We're just like
right. Yeah,
exactly.
That's most
we
likely.
didn't tell anyone.
Dusty Evely, Acme Packing Company. Dusty, thank you so much for jumping on today. We'll as soon as there's breaking news, I'm sure you'll be on our speed dial, and we will talk to you soon, my friend.
You know where to find me. Thanks for talking, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
You bet. That's